Hi, I'm Joel Stoner. I'm in my home office slash studio where I do a lot of music production and voiceover work. And this is essentially the bedroom of a house. It's not a professionally designed studio. It's 13 feet by 13 feet with an 8-foot ceiling. Any acoustician will tell you that that is not the kind of room you want to set up for a studio. But sometimes you got to use what you've got available. So I've actually done a lot of things in this room to help. You'll notice back behind that TV set there, I've hung essentially a king size comforter up against the wall. It's about an inch away from the wall, so it's kind of acting as a double barrier. And then there's another one over there behind the guitars. And so they have helped a lot with the kind of ringing echo or slap that you might get in a 13 by 13 by 8 room. Another factor people don't think about is your floor and your ceiling. In this case, it's an 8-foot ceiling. That actually sets up another resonance of another low frequency. So that's a problem. And so to help with that, I have built and hung up what's known in the studio world as a cloud. There's one right there, and it's essentially a wooden frame with rock wool insulation inside of it, and then fabric on the outside. And that is essentially deflecting some of the floor to ceiling reflections that occur. And then there's another one of those directly over my head. That's facing directly up now from the floor, so you can see that. You might notice that there is this other kind of weird blankety thing going on kind of right there. So I've built a special thing. That right there is a repurposed garage door opener that I put into a lucite case just to show it off a little bit. And let me grab my flashlight here. And that chain goes to a gear, bicycle gear, and then that's connected to a piece of 1/2-inch electrical conduit, functioning kind of like an axle, around which I have wrapped yet another polyfill comforter. And then if we look here on this corner, I built a little gearbox. Got some bevel gears to transfer the rotational motion from one axis to another. And then if I go over to this other corner, pardon the amateur camera work, there's another one right there. So when I'm ready to do a voiceover, what I do is I come over and I push this magic red button right there. Gotta push it. Oh yeah. And now I'm surrounded by this little thing. I don't know if the phone mic that I'm using sounds any different, but it's now much deader here where I'm sitting. And so when I'm going to talk into my microphones, it's a much better sound than when what I call it, my auto shroud is up. Cue the airplane flying over my head. I don't know if you can hear that. So anyway, I've done some acoustic analysis with a kind of software called REW, Room EQ Wizard. And it's not so bad, but I like to play. And so I'm going to push my magic red button here to lift that up again. You can kind of see what that looks like. And so what I want to do is line the upper corners of my room all around with corner foam bass traps. They're a little controversial. Some acousticians will say they're a waste of money. Other people say it made a huge difference. So I got some. Let's go look at them. They're out in my music room here. So I got these yesterday, a lot of them. Believe it or not, they arrived all compressed into a box about the size of these two together, 2 boxes. And so they're here decompressing. That's good for everybody sometimes. And I'm about ready to hang them up in those upper corners. These box ones go in the upper corner. There's 4 corners in the room, so these go there. And then these pieces here are essentially going to go like this around the top of the ceiling. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to take some more measurements with the software. By the way, I do have a calibrated acoustic measurement microphone right here to tell me what's going on. And I'll explain a little bit more about what these mean afterwards. So fingers crossed that they actually help a little bit. Stay tuned. I'm going to start putting these up, and then we'll come back in a little bit, maybe another day or two after I've got some analysis to show you what happened. By the way, I do have another video on my auto shroud with the garage door opener. I've filmed it. I haven't finished editing it yet, but it will be available soon. So anyway, stand by. We're going to get those hung up, and then we'll be back in a little bit. Oh, hi. Well, that was fast, wasn't it? Actually, it was fairly fast. It only took about an hour to get all the pieces that I could put up in a hole. And then the pieces that I had to cut, that took a little bit longer. By the way, this is what I used to cut it. This is a electric meat slicer. Can't really use a saw on foam because it'll just tear it and rip it. They don't make a razor blade long enough, so that's kind of in the middle there. That worked pretty well. To install them, the manufacturer, which by the way is foambymail.com, they suggested using foam adhesive spray foam. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to take any wall off or foam off the wall if I ever had to take those down. Instead, I used these things. These are called T-pins. And I got three boxes of 100 of them as a package on Amazon for about $12. Super easy, just put them up there, jam them in. I used pliers to push them a little bit. Each piece only took a few minutes. Cutting them was a little tricky because these are actually a foot thick, so the knife is not quite a foot thick, so I had to do it a little bit, but it came out okay. Now, in terms of the measurements, unfortunately I kind of screwed up when I took the first batch because I did not document the volume my system was set at. So I just kind of took a guess at it, and it's not the same. So the measurements are just volume-wise different, and the volume has a big effect on the resonance of the room, of course. But it's definitely a lot better, almost so much better that I could argue that I don't need my fancy auto shroud as much as I did before, but it's still nice to have. It does help a little bit. So let's take a look at the measurements here. This first one is from yesterday with no foam. The green line, what we're looking at there is the frequency response. And what I'm clicking at here, this is 20 cycles, which is the lower end limit of human hearing, and this is 20,000 cycles, the upper end limit of human hearing, theoretically. And we can see how the frequency response is. And this green line, we can see it's a little jaggy, and there's a little bit of a fall off down here at the 20 cycle range, which is normal. Now, if we go to today, the volume again was different, so that means everything's a little bit different. But we can see that the line itself is just a little bit smoother. You see how jaggy that is, this little dip here. And we go today, and it's a little bit less jaggy in this kind of critical area. Another thing that I wanted to look at primarily was the decay time across frequencies. So the problem we had is the low frequencies were kind of lingering and making the room kind of muddy and echoey in the low frequency area. So yesterday, we can see that if you imagine this is a mountain, the top of the mountain is when the sound first happened across all of those frequencies. And the bottom of the mountain here is how long it took for those frequencies to decay. So we can see 0 is when it happened, 100 milliseconds, 200, 300, 400, 500 milliseconds. Some of these lower end frequencies, around 100 cycles, were lingering in the room for almost a half a second. If I go to after, there is less time there on the bottom. And again, the volume was different, which affects the decay. So really kind of kicking myself about that, but I don't care because I can tell that it sounds a lot better. These things do work. So hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you around.